Here's what we have lined up for you today here on The Now. Maybe you've heard of the Sunday scaries, the anxiety you get before you go back to work on Monday. We're taking a look at what some companies are doing to get rid of those jitters. And food delivery workers may not get the tip that you leave them on the app, what you can do to make sure they're paid fairly. Plus, do you want to know just how many calories or sugar is in that glass of wine? Well, we're checking with a company that claims it's creating the healthiest wine.
Thank you, Chris. I'm Amanda Starantino, and this is The Now Indy on RTV6. Drug use can often go unnoticed by a teen's family and friends. So former law enforcement officials are stepping up and there's to show you the potential warning signs. Working for you, our Aaron Lish takes us into a teen's room and finds the disguised dangers.
In a teen's bedroom that's using drugs, there are some signs that you might not realize. So Code 3, they actually talk with addicts and the family members of addicts to find those red flag items.
Kids are getting addicted every day.
In this mock setup of a teen's room.
So that's the thing with teenagers. They're very good at finding empty spots.
Code 3's Carrie Paget teams up with Raleigh, Indiana, showing us hidden sides of drug use in plain sight, like on this dresser.
The water bottle is actually sold online as a personal safe. It comes apart and there's drug paraphernalia inside.
Even small pieces of paper are hiding spots.
A piece of folded paper is handy for having powder inside.
You can even see things aren't right by looking in your kid's closet.
You might notice that most of the shoes are missing shoelaces because they've been pulled out and used as tourniquets.
Along with shoelaces, ties, and belts used as tourniquets, there's also habits that will change.
As the addiction grows, hygiene goes down. So you can see there's soot on the bed, little drops of blood.
If you notice any of these signs, talk with your kid before it's too late.
The earlier an intervention begins, the better the chances of a good result.
This mobile tour travels across the country and hopes to bring awareness before another kid's life is lost to drug addiction. Working for you, Aaron Lish, RTV6.
Some good tips there. Thanks, Aaron. And you can actually go through this tour on Thursday in Lawrence. We have that info in this story on the RTV6 app and the IndyChannel.com. And Raleigh also awarded almost 24 Indiana cities and towns $85,000 in grants to assist each community's unique effort to help Hoosiers affected by addiction and the opioid epidemic. Kevin.
5:32, and Amanda, do you see what I see on Monument Circle? Shadows.
I see that.
Yeah, shadows breaking out. That means we're making progress in breaking up that cloud cover. We're drying out the bricks. We're turning the corner. Every kind of euphemism you can think of, a much different weather pattern is starting to set up. The rains to the south and east, it's noticeable between Shelbyville, Rushville, and eventually Connorsville in southeastern Indiana, drying out elsewhere. This is the key. That northwest wind, temperature at 74, will actually continue to rise now. Our coolest part of the day has been under the cloud cover and with the showers. Remember, the sun doesn't set until after 9. There's your northwest wind. It'll stay 10 to 15. As long as the winds stay up, that will help prevent any fog. Temperatures by 11 o'clock tonight, 65. The biggest change that we'll feel here over the next several hours, the lower humidity and the falling temperature.
Let's start the news feed. Oxycontin's a drug that is tied to the opioid epidemic. But 10 years ago, the drug's makers said it would make the painkiller harder to snort and inject. It's unclear if that change made any difference. The AP says both the maker of Oxycontin and the FDA have not let experts see the data that was gathered on that question. Iran says it's arrested 17 Iranian citizens on spying accusations. Country says the CIA recruited them to spy on their nuclear and military sites, and some have already been sentenced to death. Costa Rica can be a pretty popular place to go on vacation, but the country just put out a national alert for alcohol tainted with toxic levels of methanol. At least 19 people have died since the beginning of last month. The government confiscated about 30,000 bottles. Today, many are making their way to the Great Hall of the Supreme Court. They're there to remember retired Justice John Paul Stevens, his body laying in repose after he passed away last week at the age of 99. Stevens spent nearly 35 years on the bench. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012. Protests are continuing in Puerto Rico as the governor is refusing to step down. Governor Ricardo Rossello said yesterday that he won't run for re-election, and he also said he would no longer serve as the president of his party, but Protesters are demanding he leave his position as governor. He recently came under fire after controversial and derogatory messages between him and his advisors were leaked. Relief today for some places after that national heat wave turned deadly. Former NFL player and a woman who went hiking both lost their lives due to heat-related issues. Now, a number of cities saw temperatures skyrocket over 100 degrees this weekend. New York City even issuing an emergency declaration. Most places are expected, though, to see a cool down by midweek. A Rhode Island woman is now facing animal cruelty charges after her 3 dogs died in a hot car. Police say the woman left the dogs in a car that was running, but it didn't appear to have the AC on. Officers and people standing by, they tried to save those animals, but they were unsuccessful. That woman now could face up to 5 years in prison. All right, let's get back to our lineup and the weekday grind. Monday, let's face it, not exactly everybody's favorite day of the week, but we're going to show you how some companies are trying to cut down on that anxiety.
But it's about creating a space where people want to be, where they can socialize, where they can find time to be by themselves if they need to.
Ahead, we have a look at the tools businesses are using to make sure people actually want to come back to work.
Dealer stock. Come in for great deals now.
Welcome back to the Now Indy on RTV6. Right now, the trial is underway for a man charged in the 2016 murder of a woman from the north side of Indianapolis. IMPD says 30-year-old Jessica Whitehouse was found dead inside her home in the 4300 block of North Norwaldo Avenue in November of 2016. Investigators say someone shot her several times, and according to officers, Whitehouse's car, purse, and phone were all missing. About 18 months later, in April of last year, police arrested Loan Browning. Court records show Browning is charged with murder. Marion County Prosecutor Terry Curry said investigators were able to connect Browning to the murder of Whitehouse through witness statements, phone records, and DNA analysis.
A lot of people start the week stressed, anxious, probably a combination of the two. And it's partly because technology allows us to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But more companies are realizing that can be bad for business, and they're embracing work-life balance policies. How about starting the day like this? You're taking a look inside healthcare consulting company Vynamic. It's in Philadelphia. The staff is all smiles and laughs as a chiropractor comes in to lead exercises and show techniques to prevent pain. Now, it's one of several health and care initiatives that the company's offering. Also have an email snooze policy that keeps work emails out of inboxes on the weekends and after work hours. Now, not using email, it may be hard at first, but they say that it's had plenty of benefits.
A lot less device time is being used at home, which helps me to pursue areas that I have an interest in that maybe I had neglected in the past. I also am really committed to making sure I stay on a sleep schedule and taking an honest assessment of what's enough for me.
Vynamic's office also has a walking track so people move regularly and socialize. The CEO talked about fostering this type of work environment.
It creates a happy and engaged team. And so when I think about that, first of all, it's the right thing to do. It feels good, and it allows me to sleep at night, having a great, energized, happy team. The second result is that it absolutely creates ROI for your business. Having more engaged team members creates more impact with the work that we do with our clients.
Now, research says that even thinking about workplace communication during off hours can be harmful to your health, your relationships, and overall well-being. Flexible work schedules can also turn into work without boundaries. You can avoid that by asking your employer about email expectations. Then you adjust your email and messaging settings to avoid distractions during personal time. All right, ahead in our lineup, you have probably noticed that wine doesn't come with a nutrition label. We're going to take a look at a company hoping to change that.
Apply today at speedway.com.
Let's start the news feed. Equifax will pay up to $700 million in connection to that massive data breach. Some of that money will reimburse people who bought credit or identity monitoring services because of the 2017 breach, where nearly 150 million people's private information was exposed. Whirlpool recalling and apologizing for hundreds of thousands of dryers that could catch fire. Now the UK government's forcing the recall of 500,000 dryers that were made between 2004 and 2015. Whirlpool says that anybody who has one of those recalled dryers needs to unplug it right away. India is headed to the moon. The country launching a rocket this morning with a mission of landing a rover on the moon. It's hoping to be the first to land on the moon's south pole. A mission earlier this month was aborted because of technical issues. Now, it's no surprise when you have food delivered, it costs more because of the delivery fees and, of course, the tip. But more people are bringing attention to what happens to those tips. Chase Larson's here with the practice some say needs to change.
Well, we've all been there. You need some food in a hurry, so you turn to one of those apps to have something delivered. You're happy that the food got there so fast that you tip the driver, let's say $3. Well, depending upon who you ordered that food through, the driver technically may never see that tip. Some companies like DoorDash and Amazon Flex could take that tip and make it part of the driver's minimum pay. Here's how that works. Drivers are guaranteed a minimum per order, say $10. Well, the customer tips $3. In some cases, instead of the driver making $13, they still only made $10 because the tip went toward their minimum payment. The delivery service now only has to pay the other $7. It's called tipped wage, and there's currently a class action lawsuit against DoorDash for the practice. DoorDash says that some workers prefer the model because they know exactly how much they're getting when they make every single delivery, whether the customer tips or not. You might be asking, how is any of this legal? Well, more than half the states have minimum pay laws dealing with tipped employees. They range from $7.50 an hour to as high as $15 an hour. Well, the problem is these app delivery workers don't fall under those laws because they're independent contractors, not employees. If you want to make sure your tip goes to the delivery person, cash is the way to go.
A new multi-million-dollar program at IU will investigate how information and misinformation spread online. Today, Indiana University announced that it will establish a $6 million research center to study the role of media and technology in society. The school will call it the Observatory on Social Media. The new center will provide students, journalists, and citizens with resources, data, and training to identify and stop attempts to intentionally manipulate public opinion. The 26-year-old daughter of Vice President and former Indiana Governor Mike Pence has announced her engagement. On Saturday, Charlotte Pence posted about her engagement to boyfriend Henry Bond on social media. It was a beachfront proposal. Charlotte Pence wrote, quote, "I said yes, and then I said thanks a lot because I didn't know what else to say. I love you. Let's do this," end quote. Pence is an author who has written multiple children's books about the Pence family rabbit, Marlon Bundo.
There they are, my favorite clouds. Cumulus clouds starting to take over in the western sky. You've still got some layered clouds or stratus to the east with the rain, but it's clear skies that will win out. Not just for tonight, but if you're kind of just generalizing the forecast, clear nights, sunny days for the next several days with low humidity. Think opposite of last week. Gradually warmer temperatures, but don't fear, the humidity will lag way behind. So even when temperatures start pushing 90 degrees again, by the weekend, the humidity will be much lower. Some rain in Shelbyville, headed toward Connorsville, just south of you. Well, it'll come right through Richmond, right along Interstate 70, and maybe Liberty and Brookville Reservoir as well. That's it. That's the back edge of all the rain. That moves away, and we settle things on cruise control here for a while. Temperatures by morning, middle 50s, anywhere from Lafayette to Frankfort, on up to Tipton, Kokomo, Peru, Marion. Temperatures in the eastern portion of the state, all in the 50s as well. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, maybe a few fair weather clouds. The wind will be north to northwest at 10 miles per hour. Temperature peaks around 81 degrees in the afternoon. A lot of people will miss the mark. In other words, not reach 80 degrees, especially north of Indy. 76 already cooling off in the evening. When we dry the air out, it really allows these temperatures to stretch out from morning low to afternoon high and then fall off rather quickly during the nighttime hours. As we get to high temperatures tomorrow around the region, all close to 80, maybe a little above in spots, and again that north wind will make it feel good. Wednesday we take another little step forward as far as the temperature is concerned, should jump to 83. Humidity though not an issue. It will feel great even as temperatures start to go up as we get to Thursday and later in the week. We'll see these temperatures continue with low humidity. Back with more.
Maybe you just need a day off from everything, a mental health day. Starting this fall, some students will have that option. Oregon passed a law to treat mental health and physical health the same. That means kids can have an excused absence for mental health issues as well. They won't get detention for being out of school, and they'll also be able to make up a test if they miss a day. Now, they can have 5 excused absences in 3 months. Mental Health America sees it as an opportunity for students to be honest about what's going on.
It's perhaps unlikely in many areas that a student would feel comfortable and say, today I need a mental health day. Today my depression was difficult for me to get out of bed or difficult for me to get to school on time. And this will afford them the same equity they would have with any other health condition.
The group looked at this issue in the workplace as well, and they found a little more than half of employees were afraid to take a day off to attend to their mental health. People are more health conscious than ever, but maybe you've wondered why wine doesn't have a nutrition label. Annie Taylor is taking a look at one company that's hoping to make a change.
A label can tell you a lot, and if you care about your health, knowing what's in your food and drinks is important.
I think as sort of the population is becoming more health conscious.
Grant Harmson with Vineyard Wine says despite that, there's one thing many cannot give up, and that's their wine.
When people stop in on the way back from the gym.
What's unique is unlike food, wine doesn't have to have a nutrition label.
They just have to tell you what the alcohol percentage is, and even that can be plus or minus a percentage point within the law.
Say hello to Life Vine. It's not on the market just yet, but it's the first wine showing exactly what's in it.
Number one is consumers would like a wine that's higher in antioxidants. Number two, consumers would love to have a wine that were pesticide free. And number three, consumers really care about the amount of sugar that they're taking into their bodies.
Ari Walker is the owner of Life Vine and says most wineries don't use science to know what's exactly in each glass.
Science makes things faster, it makes things easier, it makes things safer.
That's Sean Callan, a scientist at Ellipse Analytics. He helped Life Vine become what he says is the healthiest wine out there.
We're not, chemically altering the wine or doing anything like that. We were just able to give a path that no one else could see.
Sean and his team tested hundreds of wines from different regions to find out where and what grapes made the healthiest wine. Life Vine has 25% more antioxidants, is low in sugar, and is the only certified pesticide-free wine by the federal government.
Other wineries aren't doing this yet. I hope that other wineries take our lead because I think it's important.
I'm Annie Taylor reporting.
All right, Annie, thank you. And we are already halfway through the year. And if your New Year's resolution was to save money and to this point hasn't really worked out, there's some apps we want to tell you about that are trying to help. And they're trying to make it fun by turning the process into a game. For example, take this app right here. It's called Long Game Savings. You will need to link your bank account to this app. It'll create a savings account for you. And then every time you put money into your account, you earn points to play games and win cash. Now, that money can be sent to your real savings account as well. And when you hear this, you think your bank account, is this safe? Well, this app is insured by the FDIC, and it is free. Now, another app basically works as a virtual scratch-off game to help you save. You'll create an account with Patelco Credit Union, and each week that you save more than $5, well, you'll get a chance to play an online scratch-off game, and you can win anywhere from $5 to $100. That goes straight into your savings account. This is insured by the NCUA, which protects credit unions. Then there's an app called Capital, and you look at your screen there, we're talking about Capital with a Q. You choose your own rules to the game to save. Now, there's a roundup rule where you can round up to the next dollar on all your purchases, then all that extra change goes into your savings account. There's also a guilty pleasure rule, which is every time you spend money on something that you like doing, you'll send money to your savings account. Now, this app is also FDIC insured. Now, of course, you don't need to download all these apps to be able to save money. One easy thing that you can do is just set up your savings account for direct deposit, and that way you won't need to think about it. Thousands of stores will shut down by the end of the year, but not without a fight. We're checking into how some stores are targeting younger shoppers to stay in business.